Indian Economy and Indian Financial System, Paper 1. In Paper 1, the module A is Indian Economic Architecture. Now we are going to deal with Unit 1, an overview of Indian economy. In terms of GDP, purchasing power parity, that is PPP, India ranked third in the world only after USA and China as per IMF WUEO report April 2022. According to Angus Medicine database, India and China contributed 50.5% of global GDP in 1000 AD. As per work of Angus Medicine, Indian share of global income was 23% in 1600 AD, but the time of independence, that is in 1947, it has shrunk to only 3%. The British East India Company ignored industrialization in the nation, and infrastructure was created not to industrialize India but to exploit its raw materials. India accounted for 33% of global trade in 1600 AD but fell to less than 3% in 1947. The pre-independence period was characterized by near stagnation with little change in organization of production or productivity levels. As per World Bank classification, Indian economy is lower middle income economy which is contributed to low per capita income. As per World Bank's classification, Indian economy is lower middle Indian economy which is attributed to low per capita income, high levels of poverty, unemployment and literacy. So India is classified as lower middle income category, lower per capita income, high levels of poverty, unemployment and illiteracy. Following independence and start of planning process, agriculture share decreased while the share of industries and services increased. During the time of direct British control from 1858 to 1947, the colonial government's officials transfer of monies to United Kingdoms were referred as home charges. Indian growth rate was slow, 3.5% during the first 3 decades after independence. In 1978, Professor Raj Krishna coined the phrase Hindu rate of growth to describe the slow growth of the Indian economy. Following the 1991 economic crisis, the implementation of reforms and the adaptation of LPG, liberalization, globalization, and privatization policies paved by the way of positive economic outcomes and higher GDP growth rates. According to the provisional estimates of annual national income for financial year 21-22, the growth rate in Indian GDP during 21-22 is estimated at 8.7% as compared to a contraction of 6.6% in 2020-21. The COVID pandemic disrupted global supply chains, shipping, logistics, as well as affecting the Indian economy through mass lockdown, loss of human life, and destruction in permanent demand. According to the International Monetary Fund, India's contribution of global GDP reached 7.3% in 2021. However, in terms of GDP purchasing power parity, India is ranked third in the world only after USA and China. A number of factors influence the nature and characteristics of Indian economy. Some of the factors include low per capita income, low per capita real income, rapid population growth, a high rate of unemployment, underemployment, and distinguished employment, excessive reliance on primary sector, a vicious circle of property, raising unemployment. A number of factors influence the nature of characteristics of Indian economy. Some of the factors include low per capita real income, rapid population, a high growth rate of unemployment, underemployment, and distinguished employment. excessive reliance on primary sector, a vicious circle of poverty and rising unemployment. In 1950, agriculture was the dominant sector, contributing 53.1% of GDP, industries 16.6, services 30.3. During the period of 1980 and 81, the service sector increased to 38%, passed agriculture 36.1% to become the largest contribution to GDP, and industries 25.9%. Under British rule, India remained a low quality labor market. Less than one sixth of Indians were only literate. 1867 to 68. Dadabhai Nauroji published a first estimate of national income of India in his book Poverty and Un-British Rule in India. According to him, British Indians' nation income was 340 crores, per capita income was 20 rupees per annum at current prices. In 2008, in order to mitigate effects of crisis, the government provided three stimulus packages totaling 1.86 lakh crores, that is 3.5% of GDP to the economy. The RBI assessed monetary conditions and injected rupees 5.6 crores, roughly 9% of GDP in the domestic and external liquidity. Prior to COVID-19 pandemic, the economy average annual growth between 2008 and 9 is and 1920 is 6.5%. Base year is considered as 2011 to 12 prices. COVID-19. End of December 2019, first reported officially in Wuhan, China. March 11, 2020, COVID was declared as pandemic. January 30, 2020, first COVID-19 case was recorded in India. India has had three waves of infection on June 22, pushing its caseload to the world's second highest. On January 16, 2021, India launched its vaccination program. A number of factors responsible for most serve economic impact on India, with the severity of the lockdown being mostly frequently stated explanation. GDP contraction was more served in countries with higher stringency index: India, Argentina, Italy, and United Kingdom. Economic recovery dynamism post-COVID. During the first wave of infections, India had only one of the worst recession. In the quarter 1 of 2020-21, GDP contracted by as much as 23.8%. Supported by low base, economy recovered handsomely in 2021, 21 and 22. The growth in GDP during 21-22 estimated at 8.7% as compared to contraction of 6.6% in 2021. Sectors of Unit 2, sectors of Indian economy. Primary sectors include those economic activities where there is a direct use of natural resources as agriculture, forestry, fishing, fuels, metals, minerals, etc. Secondary sector includes economic activities that involve processing of raw materials extracted from the primary sector, also called as industrial sector. An industrial economy is one in which secondary sector generates at least half of the country's national GDP and employment. Tertiary sector include economic activities that produces services such as education, healthcare, banking, communication, and so on. Difference between different sectors. The first one, in primary sector, agriculture, forestry, and mining are the examples of activities in this sector. Manufacturing units, small scale units, major enterprises, and global organizations are included. This sector includes banking, insurance, and communication. Known as agriculture and associated services. The industrial and manufacturing services is often known as manufacturing sector, also known as service sector. Provide raw materials for production of goods and services, transforms one good into another by value addition to it, offers valuable services to the primary and secondary sectors. Unorganized and most of the time employs old methods. Organized and employs more efficient production method. It is well organized and use advanced logistics techniques to carry out its tasks. In most developing economies such as India, the sector employs a large portion of the workforce compared to developed countries. Since the sector requires a particular set of talents, the employment rate is in equilibrium. This, this sector employee share has been risen drastically in the recent years. Quaternary sector is also known as the knowledge sector. This includes such as teaching, research, development, hospital and physicians, offices, theaters, accountants and brokerage services. Culinary sector includes occupations such as senior company executives, government officials, research scientists, financial and legal advisors, and others. So there are six sectors. No. Five sectors. First one is primary, secondary, tertiary, quaternary. Quaternary is a knowledge-based sector. Culinary sector includes, that is fifth one, includes senior company executives, government officials, research scientists, and legal advisors and others. Agriculture share of the country gross income has been declining while the industrial and service sector shares have been steadily increasing. Industry share of GVA has increased from 17% in 1915 50-51 to 29% in 2021-22. The service sector portion has increased from 33% in 1950 to 53% in 2021. The construction sector is the second largest employment sector in country only after agriculture. It employs over 31 million people and accounting for around 8% of total employment. Green energy, fintech, information technology, electronic, pharmaceuticals, automobiles, healthcare, infrastructure sector, retail sector, processing plants, and other emerging sectors of the Indian economy form a part of sunrise sector. Green energy, fintech, information technology, electronics, pharmaceuticals, automobiles, healthcare, infrastructure sector, retail sector, processing plants, and other emerging sectors of the economy form a part of sunrise sector. The organized sector is one in which job terms are fixed and regular, and the employees are guaranteed work. The organized sector compromises manufacturing enterprises, business schools, hospitals, and unit registered with government. Unorganized sector, on the other hand, is one in which employment terms are not defined and regular. The enterprises are not registered with the government. Construction workers, domestic workers, street workers, and those operating in a tiny workshops unaffiliated with the government are all a part of unorganized sector. Basis of comparison between organized and unorganized, meaning the sector in which employment terms are fixed and employees are assured with work in organized sector. The sector that compromises small scale enterprises or units and are not registered with the government. Governed by it is in the organized sector various acts like Factories Act, Bonus Act, PF Act, Minimum Wage Act. No, not governed by any act. Government rules strictly followed. Here it is not followed. Remuneration, regular monthly salary, daily wages. Job security, yes. Here it is no. Working hours fixed. Here it is no. Overtime. Workers are paid remuneration for overtime. No provision for overtime. Salary of workers as prescribed by the government. Less than the salary prescribed by the government. Contribution to provident by employer, yes. Increment in salary once in a while. Here it is rarely. Benefits and prerequisites. Employees get add-on benefits like medical facilities, pension, leave, travel, compensation, etc. No such facilities are provided. So up to here we have completed Unit 2. Let us continue with the Unit 3 of Indian financial system. The Unit 3 is Economic Planning in India and Niti Aayog. As per Economic HD Dixon, economic planning is defined as the making of major economic decisions. What, what and how much is produced, to whom it is to be allotted by the conscious decision of a determinate authority on the basis of comprehensive survey of the economic system as a whole. I will repeat. As per economist Mr. H.D. Dixon, economic planning is defined as the making of major economic decisions, what and how much to be produced, and to whom it is to be allocated by conscious decision of a determinate authority on the basis of a comprehensive survey of economic system as a whole. National Planning Committee set up in 1938 by Indian National Congress defined by planning in India as planning under a democratic system may be defined as technical coordination by disinterested experts of consumption, production, investment, trade, and income distribution in accordance with social objectives set by representative of the nation. Such planning is not only to be considered for the point of economics and, and also raising of the standard of living, but must include cultural and spiritual values and human side of life. Planning is a vital component for every economy and it is carried out at many levels. It is skill of reaching any sort of objective utilizing the resources at hand. India has centralized planning procedure that offers a broad framework for economic economies, development and investment requirements. The Planning Commission was in charge of planning in India since 1950. Depending on the goal, plan may be categorized in several types. From a territorial standpoint of view, planning by regional and national. Similarly, from political standpoint, planning might be federal, state, or local. Depending on the goal, planning may be categorized in several types. From a territorial standpoint of view, planning may be regional, national. Similarly, from political standpoint, planning may be federal, state, or local. అక్కడ రీజనల్, నేషనల్, ఇక్కడ ఫెడరల్, స్టేట్, లోకల్. Planning may be classified as centralized or decentralized planning from standpoint of participation. From a temporal standpoint, planning might be a long-term or short-term. Similarly, planning may be sectorial as well as geographical. Objectives of economic planning in India: economic growth, poverty alleviation, employment generation, social justice, and reducing the inequalities, self-reliant economy, modernization. 5-year plans and their performance. Fundamental goal to raise national income as well as per capita income. However, both national and per capita income growth were quite modest during the planning era. 7 of the 12 5-year plans experienced lower growth rate than expected. Growth rates were modest during the first 3 decades of planning, but then picked up. Massive fluctuations were another aspect of growth story. Negative per capita income growth are recorded in such times such as 1971 and 1972 and 1991-92. Agricultural growth has indeed been highly volatile due to change in environment factors. The Green Revolution of 1960s and the government effort to promote agriculture via different programs have worked splendidly for the country. Today, India has not only attained self-sufficient in food grain production but also leading exporter of many agriculture products. With the expansion of iron and steel, machine tool and heavily engineering industries, India has made major strides towards capital equipment self-sufficiency. Engineering items accounted up for Engineering items accounted up a significant portion of Indian exports, contributing for around 86% of overall merchandise exports. The National Institution for Transforming India, generally known as Niti Aayog, National Institution for Transforming India, that is called as Niti Aayog, NITI Aayog, AAYOG, National Institution for Transforming India was the full form, was established on 1st January 2015 by a resolution of Cabinet, Union Cabinet and replaced Planning Commission. The Niti Aayog was set up on January 1st, 2015. The Niti Aayog was set up on January 1st, 2015 by replacing the Planning Commission. Niti Aayog is chaired by Prime Minister. The Governing Council of Niti Aayog is made up of the chairperson, ex officio member of Niti Aayog, vice chairperson, full-time members, chief ministers of states, and Lieutenant Governor of Andaman Nicobar Islands, Union Territories, and special invitees of Niti Aayog. In December 2018, Niti Aayog published its comprehensive national strategy for New India, which is a full exploitation spanning 41 critical areas that recognizes previous accomplishments, identified binding restrictions, and recommends a path ahead to achieve explicitly defined objectives. Functions of Niti Aayog to develop a shared vision of national development priority sectors and strategies with active state participation in the light of national objectives, to promote cooperative federalism on a constant basis through organized support programs and processes with the states, understanding understanding that strong states make a strong nation, to create procedures for developing viable plans at village level and gradually aggregating these at levels of government, to ensure national security considerations are included in economic strategy and policy in areas explicitly referred to it, to give special attention to those segments of the society who may be at danger or not benefiting adequately economic development, to give special attention to those segments of our society who may not be at danger or not benefiting adequately for economic development, create strategic and long-term policy and program frameworks and initiatives, as well as track their development and efficiency. Lessons learned through monitoring and feedback will be utilized to make novel changes, including mid-course adjustments, to give guidance and foster collaboration between important stakeholders and like-minded think tanks on the nation and worldwide level, as well as educational and policy research organizations, to establish a collaborative network of national and international specialists, practitioners, and other partners to encourage knowledge, innovation, and entrepreneurship, to provide a forum for resolution of cross-sector and cross-departmental issues in order to expertise the execution of the development plan, maintaining a cutting edge resource center serving as a repository for research on good governance and best practices in sustainable and equitable development, and assisting in their dimensions to stakeholders, actively monitor and assess program and initiate execution, including the identification of required resources in order to increase the likelihood of success and scope of delivery, to concentrate on technological advancements and capacity building for program and initiative execution, to carry out any additional actions that may be required to enhance the implications of the national development strategy and previously indicated goals. In 41 chapters of Comprehensive National Strategy of New India are divided into four sessions: drivers, infrastructure, inculcation, governance. The 41 chapters of Comprehensive National Strategy of New India are divided into four sections: drivers, infrastructure, inclusion, and governance. Drivers, infrastructure, inculcation, and governance. Drivers, infrastructure, inculcation, and governance. Drivers, infrastructure, inculcation, and governance. The 41 chapters of Comprehensive National Strategy of New India are divided into four sectors: drivers, infrastructure, inculcation, and governance. In India, there are key resources of funds available for funding economic plans. In India, there are three key sources of funds available for funding in economic plans: domestic budgetary sources, deficit financing, and foreign assistance. Taxation is among the most domestic budgetary resources for channelizing funds for planning. In India, there are key sources of funds available for funding economic plans: domestic budgetary sources, deficit financing, and foreign assistance. Taxation is among the most significant, most budgetary resources for channelizing funds for planning. So, this is the end of third unit of Indian economy. Economic planning is defined as the making of major economic decisions: what, and how much is produced, to whom it is to be allotted, by the conscious decision of a determinate authority on the basis of comprehensive survey of the economic system as a whole. I will repeat. As per economist Mr. H.D. Dixon, economic planning is defined as the making of major economic decisions: what and how